So today on the 30th of December 2019, with my raspy throat from this chest infection that I've had over the last few weeks, I decided to put into practice something that I've been wanting to do for the last few months. And I went and talked to my grandparents about some stories they'd frequently told me before, and I decided to get it down on tape. I just talked to them, I asked them questions, I wrote down these questions, I asked them, and I recorded their answers, and I kept the interview completely unedited so that I could just broadcast to the world really what what they said and just not influence what they were trying to say. It's a completely unmolested message. It's everything they've said is on tape. Everything they've said is unedited, and I haven't changed the order or anything. Even the bit at the end where I had to start recording again because my grandfather remembered something else he wanted to add or didn't think to add, and I asked him, "Oh wait, hang on, that'll be important." So yes, it does meander. Yes, my grandfather is hard of hearing, and I did have to talk very loudly and ask him a question several times just to get him to hear. And yes, my grandmother does forget things because she's elderly, and uh, so this is what you're going to hear in the interview. But it is the most pure, unedited account of them and who they are and who they have been as people. And so if you can bear with me and just bear through this video, you'll get an account of their childhood and of life in the United Kingdom before, uh, well, prior to World War II, during World War II, and after World War II. And I think that's something that if you have a predilection for that, well, I hope you come to enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it. And if this is a successful video, if this is a project, hopefully we can take it further, and hopefully we can do this with more people and recount the lives of those who deserve to be remembered. Enjoy. Yeah. So first one. So what's the most memorable moment of your childhood? The most memorable part?
Most memorable part of my childhood.
Yeah.
I suppose really it was, what was that, 33, 39, 1933. War started in 1939, till I was 6. 39, 44, 1, 6, 7. When I was about 8 years old, I suppose, was the Second World War in London.
Mm-hmm. And what do you remember about the war?
Oh, everything.
Mainly the rockets and the buzz bombs.
Doodlebugs.
Doodlebugs.
Yeah, that's what they used to call the Doodlebugs. You used to hear they used to come over. They used to have a drone,
Yeah.
and you knew that when they came
When
over,
it stopped,
when the engine stopped,
they were going to drop.
within about 10 seconds, you knew it was coming down. Bang.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Doodlebugs. Yeah.
That is that
The
yesterday.
Doodlebugs was the main thing, and and the bombing of London obviously was
Nasty,
yeah, devastating. Yeah,
You
houses all ground to the ground, and this and that, and ARP and police working to rescue people and to get people out, find out who people were living in there, and the administration part, I suppose, really. I used to have a when there was a terrific air raid, they used to have the streets that were absolutely obliterated. They used to the ALP and the police and that. They were looking for people, make sure they'd got everybody out of the bombed houses, and they used to have a code whereby they used to have a lamppost, say, at one end of the street, and if it had a red flag on it, it meant they were still looking for survivors. Whether they were dead or alive, there were people still buried there. When they'd cleared the site and they were satisfied that everybody was accounted for, they used to put a blue flag up, meaning that everybody was accounted for and there was no people buried alive.
Okay.
You mentioned before about you walked in and you found a friend of yours. Can you just recount that story?
The what?
A friend of yours. You said you found his body in the house.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We used to being it's only that during the Blitz was about 8 or 9 years old. I suppose we were more curious. We didn't realise just how severe it was and that. And and I used to have an inkling for cats. And me and my three friends used to go and walk about. Even when the bombs were coming down, the ARP used to chase us. And I used to go looking for cats that were, sort of just wandering around the sites. And I used to take the cats back home and I used to put them in our coal bunker. And the RSPCA and other charities used to come round and collect the cats now and again and take them back to their sanctuary. And I went into over the over the side. I lived in a block of flats, and opposite us, well, nearly opposite us, was another block of flats, obviously. And I went. Was looking for. I was looking for cats with a couple of my mates, and I saw this. What I thought was a bag of rags, and that, and I went over and saw it, and I could see it was a friend of mine that used to live over the other side of the road, and as far as I could recognise him, I thought it was this chap, and of course he was dead, and that was a bit of a shake-up, for, oh my God, what's going on here? And I suppose that brought a bit of reality home, because up till then, I think kids of my age didn't realise just how serious things were, so...
What was his name?
Hey?
What was his name?
I can't think of his name now. That's going back too many years. I can't think of his name.
Okay, that's fair enough. So, number 3 there, Grandad.
What activities were of your childhood as a result of the war? Activities?
Yeah, like games or hobbies.
I don't know really. I suppose. What do you mean, during the war or after?
Well, both.
Well, during the war, I don't know. I used to. There used to be when they used to clear the streets of all the bomb damage and that, and we used to have over the side of us where there was a lot of waste ground. We used to have lorries coming in, and they used to bring in everything, bricks and floorboards and everything like that from the site, and they made a big tip of it in various places, and I suppose really, I suppose seeing the devastation and that, and one thing and another, and we used to get some of the planks, floorboards, and me and a friend of mine used to get these floorboards, and we used to saw them up into sort of 9-inch lengths, and we used to chop them down, and we used to sell them to people in sacks for firewood. So we used to we started a little business up really. We used to sell a lot of the old ladies there. We had open fires then, and they used to welcome a shilling for a sandbag sack of chopped firewood just to light the fire with. Yeah, that was it. We had a sort of a business going in one time.
That's good.
I can remember that very well. Oh yeah.
How about after the war?
After the war? Well, I think after the war was my dad. Your granddad was fighting in Burma. And the victory in Europe, VE, came first. Mm-hmm. That was the first victory, VE Day. big celebrations and all this, that and the other. But the Japanese war was still going on.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was out with the 14th Army in Burma fighting the Japs. And I think when Japan did eventually surrender to the American forces, I was in school one day, and what must I have been? Oh, I don't know. It's 33, 43, 10, about 12, I suppose I was. And I was in school in class, and the teacher stood up, and he said, David Reeves. I said, yeah. He said, your father's. I remember this very distinctly. He said, your father is in the army, isn't he? I said, that's right, yeah. He said, and he's fighting out in Burma, isn't he? I said, yes, yeah, my dad's out in Burma. And he said, well, I've got some news for you. He said, your dad's home. And I said, no. He said, yeah. He said, your dad has arrived home. The war in Japan was finished. And he said, we've had notification that your dad is now at home. So would you like to go home and see him? I said, well, yeah. He said, right, put your coat on and go home. And I went home and my dad was home.
Oh, that must have been lovely for you.
Oh, it was great. My dad was there in his army uniform and everything. And the only thing was with my dad, of course, being as he was out in Burma, when he came home, he had malaria. And he used to shake a lot and feel cold. So he didn't get away scot-free. He got malaria out in Burma, and he was quite ill with it at times. We used to sit indoors with a big fire, and he'd suddenly start to shake with malaria, and he would feel cold, and yet there was a big fire.
Yeah.
But it was just the malaria, you know. And I can remember my dad used to go down now and again, go down the bottom of the road to Victoria Wine Company, and my dad used to get a bottle of rum, and sometimes when my dad used to get the old shakes on from the malaria, he used to have a tot of rum, and it used to do, and that used to sort of I thought to myself, oh, it's like medicine, this rum. It used to warm him up, and he used to feel a bit better, and he used to stop shaking so much. But you know, yeah, he'd seen a bit out in, and my dad would never talk about it.
No.
My dad would never talk about the war, what he saw, what went
He
on.
wouldn't know.
It was too far
Didn't
beyond belief what he saw and what he'd done and what went
he
on.
was actually
He wouldn't
he was really too old to go, wasn't he, really?
He wouldn't
He
talk.
shouldn't have gone.
He wouldn't talk about it, no. That
They
was-
used to call him Pop, didn't they?
yeah.
The other young lads.
Yeah.
I suppose war ages you as well, though. So being
Yeah,
28.
but he was old. He shouldn't really have gone.
Okay. And you mentioned he had to pay for his rifle that he
Oh
he
yeah,
left behind.
yeah.
That was cheap. wasn't it?
Listen, Gav, it's on recording.
It's all right, man.
You
It's all right.
can't- that's
It's all right. It's all right, Grandad. It's here to capture the conversation.
My dad was he was in the Royal Artillery. He was on Bofors, and they were surrounded by the Japanese and outnumbered, and it was at Imphal, Imphal, I think, and it was called the Siege of Imphal, and the Indian forces and Australian forces and that they managed to put a wedge in between the Japanese encirclement. So although they were trapped, these forces, the Indians and the Australians and the other forces, managed to put a wedge through, and everybody was told, the British and all that was in the siege, was told to drop everything. That they can only hold this gap for about 12 hours, 24 hours at most. So if you're on the guns, they used to take the breech out and damage it so as the Japs couldn't use it. So they were told to dismantle their guns and leave everything. If there's a wagon going, jump on the wagon. If there isn't, make it on foot. To go through that gap within 12 to 24 hours before the Japs closed it up again. And, they all, they just went as they were. They couldn't take no rifles or anything like that with them. They were told to leave them. And when my dad got home after a few weeks, of course, they didn't get paid out there then. They had no pay. My father had back pay. And I think it was somewhere in the region of just over about £200 on back pay. But he also had a deduction of £42, I think it was, £42 for the loss of a Lee Enfield rifle. And my father wrote and opposed it, but they still deducted it, even though they were told by the High Command to leave everything. They didn't just leave it because they couldn't carry it. They were told not to take anything with them. Travel light, leave your guns and everything. Dismantle the Bofors guns and anything that was useful to the Japanese, and just get on the back of a wagon or even run if you had to get out the gap that was formed there for 24 hours. But he still had to pay £42 for the loss of a Lee Enfield rifle.
A lot of money then.
Yeah. That would
Yeah.
have been,
Yeah.
I'll figure out what the inflated rate is nowadays, but the conversion
Yeah.
rate. But was that everyone as well? Everyone was charged for the rifle. Everyone who left the rifle behind was charged.
Yeah, because there was a chap that was with my dad. He only lived round the corner from us, and as far as I can remember, he was with my dad, and he was one of them that got out. They had to leave everything, and I'm pretty well sure that when they spoke of it, the other chap, as my father, he had money stopped for the loss of a rifle. Yes.
That's a shame. Now, the next one, Grandad. What do you think? There are certain things about the war that people don't either remember or like to talk about. What do you think
What aspects of living through the war do you think people don't realise or don't talk about? Well, I suppose everyday life, really. I mean, life goes on.
Mm-hmm.
To pick out something that you don't talk about, we used to have a laugh. We used to have a laugh because there was a Messerschmitt, I think it was, came over our flats, and his tower was on fire, and there was a couple of Spitfires chasing it, and we lived near Wormwood Scrubs. Well, Wormwood Scrubs were big football pitches and sports pitches, but they'd been changed and turned into allotments for growing veg. Grow your own, dig for victory. Mm-hmm. And we saw the Messerschmitt go over, and then I did that, and all of a sudden you saw the spec come out, which was the pilot, and a parachute opened. So the pilot got out of the Messerschmitt all right and parachuted down. Well, I heard that the pilot landed on Wormwood Scrubs, which was all allotments. Mm-hmm. And of course, when he landed, it appears that 3 of the old boys that was digging out there, growing cabbages and what have you, went for him with their shovels and that, their spades and that.
Yeah.
But he put his hands up. He spoke English, and he was glad to be down, and he was glad to be out the war.
So, like, no one wanted to really fight, or a
No,
lot of people didn't really want to fight.
no. A lot. I think you'll find that a lot of people. I can't talk for the English, the Americans, and all this, that, and other, but I think you'll find a lot of the Germans. I might be wrong, but I think you'll find a lot of the Germans were glad to be out the war. A lot of the general public, the Germans, didn't want it. I don't think they wanted it. Some did, some didn't.
It, really?
No.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, that was it. The old boys that were digging for victory on the allotments. Yeah. They were going to chop him to pieces with their spades, but he put his hands up and surrendered. And in good English, he said, no problems. He was glad to be down on the ground, and I think he was glad knew he would be a prisoner of war or a prisoner, and I think he was glad that he would be out of the war. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned as well you used to collect shrapnel.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, she was. When we used to go to school in the morning,
Early in the morning.
we used to walk along, and you'd keep your eyes peeled on the floor
There's loads of it.
because you see lots of metal, shrapnel from the high explosive shells and that, and yeah, we used to collect the shrapnel. Yeah, big pieces, little pieces. Yeah, used to put them in an OXO tin, and look at them now and again and think, Christ, that's what part of a British shell or something,
Was that just a hobby, collector's edition?
Oh yeah, it was just something. Yeah, you used to look for them, and I doubt very much whether I can remember going to school. And I don't think I ever went to school on a day where I didn't find a bit of shrapnel on the pavement.
Sure not.
It was that bad, there was plenty about.
Okay, so it was, you basically made the most of your situation. It became
You
normal.
had to.
Yeah.
You had to. And you was always told, I know it sounds laughable now, but you was always told that when you was on your way to school in the morning, if the sirens went and there was an air raid, you were to make your way to the nearest place that you were, i.e. if you was near the school, make for the school. If you was just left home, not the school, go back home. So you used to do that.
Yeah.
And
Or if there was an air raid shelter, you'd go there.
Yeah.
we know that some kids, they used to, well, we all did, I suppose, in a way. I can't remember, but I suppose I was the same. Used to go to school and wait, if you was a bit early, before the hooter went for the school to start,
Yeah.
you would wait by the gate, hoping the siren would go, and you could say, oh, I'm nearer home, and go back home and not go into school.
I mean, that's probably dangerous, but I guess that's children being children,
Eh?
It's dangerous to have to run all the way back home.
Oh,
rather than
yeah,
go to school,
yeah,
but-
I know. But I think, to be honest, and I thought about this quite a lot, if I'd have been, shall we say, I mean, I was born in 1933, so when the war started in 1939, I was 6. 1939, 41, the Blitz. So I was about 8 years old. I think if I'd have been 14 to 16 years old, I'd have been more worried than I was as a child, because as a child of 8 years old, I didn't realise how severe it was.
Okay.
But I think as you get older, you realise what it's all about, and I think that's more frightening than being a little kid.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you grew up before the NHS. So
Yeah.
what was healthcare like before the NHS? What was it? Because there's a lot of idea that it was just awful, but is there
You had to
anything you
pay.
can shed? Yeah.
You had to pay when you went to the doctors.
Oh, healthcare, what, the NHS?
Prior to the NHS, yes.
Yeah.
Prior to the NHS.
You went, I can remember 5 shillings if you went to the doctors. If you come to the house, it was 7 and 6.
That's
that
right,
was a lot of money in them
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, you had to pay for it.
Yeah, you had to pay.
You had to pay for it, but the doctor was very good because if you came round to see someone that was sick,
Oh, yeah. If one of your kids had measles.
and there was a couple of children in the house, he'd look at them as well. You know what I mean? So they were very, very
He'd give
good.
enough medicine for the family because he knew they'd all catch it.
I don't know anything about what operations and that were because I don't know whether they were subsidised or whether they were you had to pay for all of it or whether there was some scheme. I know there was going back to those days. There was like an insurance.
Yeah.
And it was called the HSA.
I remember that. My mum
HSA insurance. That was the hospital.
Yeah, that was healthcare.
Something assurance. Hospital something assurance.
Healthcare.
And you paid, a couple of bob a week or something like that, and this, that, and the other. And if you went to I don't know about doctor, but I think if you went to the hospital and you had to have something done, I think you got a discount, a bit off because you belong to this, and if something was £20, I suppose you paid 15, and the HSA paid 5. And
so it was a bit like insurance.
It was just like an insurance.
Okay, community insurance kind of thing.
If the doctor comes to the house, it used to be 7 and 6.
Yeah.
It was quite a lot of money then.
Yeah.
I'll look up the conversion.
If you could get to the surgery, it was 5 shillings.
Yeah, a bit cheaper.
I can remember my mum,
So would you say there was a stronger community link with the doctors then?
Oh,
like
definitely.
the doctors had a bit more of a personal connection to the patients they served?
Definitely.
I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know really. I think see, my dad came from Oxford, right? Now, my dad was taken ill at home in Oxford as a young man. And they phoned up the doctors, and the doctor came out and said that my father had peritonitis, right? Now, he said about getting an ambulance, and the doctor considered that my dad would have been dead by the time he got to hospital in an ambulance. So the doctor said to his mother, this is my story from my father, the doctor said to his mother, go to the kitchen, boil some water, and scrub the table.
In them days, Callum,
Oh, Catholic.
the kitchen table was a great big wooden one.
Yeah, okay.
Massive.
Like a big thick one.
Well, I'm telling you because he don't tell it all.
Okay.
And you had to scrub them.
Okay.
Nearly every kitchen in the country, I don't mean in towns and that, they used to have the big wooden block, butcher's block, which was the table. Seat about 6 or 8 people. So his mother scrubbed the table down, and the doctor operated on my father in the kitchen on the table and saved his life. Now, I don't think a doctor could or would do that today.
Okay, but that's quite amazing, that story.
It is amazing.
Okay.
It is amazing, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And the ambulance came and they took my father to the hospital, but the doctor had done the operation in the kitchen on a scrubbed table in Oxford.
Oh wow, okay. That's impressive. That's amazing. Now, for the last question, we've talked about healthcare. How was your schooling back in the day? What was schooling like prior to sort of what you call modern schooling, I guess?
Schooling. Happy schooling.
Very destructive though, Dave, wasn't it?
Well,
you'd have to run to the shelter. You'd leave your lessons, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but
you'd done a lot of your lessons in the air raid shelters, didn't you?
Yeah, but I mean, it used to be, I don't know. I don't. Maybe it's me, but when I went to the Polytechnic from when I passed it, what was it, 11 plus then?
Mhm.
I went to North Hammersmith Polytechnic. I don't know. I don't think I seem to suffer from the pressures as what they suffer today.
Okay.
I don't know whether it's because of. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's like. You might find this funny, but in my day when I was in teens or like that, um, if you had a TV
Mhm.
and it went wrong, you had it repaired.
Mhm.
If you had a bicycle and you went over a stone and the wheel was buckled, you took the wheel off and you took it into a cycle shop and they trued it up for you for a few bob. I think that was the pressure was off because now if your telly don't work, they throw it out the window and they go and get a new one and they're in debt.
Okay. Yeah.
Fantastic debt. I don't think we had. Well, I don't remember, but I don't think my parents or a lot of other parents in general life had the worry and expense of general life of what they have today.
I don't think we had televisions, Dave.
No, I know that, but
We
I
had
mean,
wireless, if you were lucky.
yeah, I know that, but that's what I'm saying. There was no
Music,
television
you know.
set, but
Didn't
I
have
mean,
telly.
yeah, but I mean, you know, I think what you didn't have, you didn't have. People today, I think a lot of the problems today, and you know, people want to live like that. You know, good luck to them, but it's a throwaway society. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, if you've got a television set there that costs £400,
Yeah.
so right, something goes wrong, and I say, well, so I get a bloke in, and he said, well, it's going to cost you £80.
Okay.
Right, that's £80. But a lot of people say, we've had it 3 years. Oh, get a new one.
Yeah.
But then they go into debt for it.
Yep.
Real debt.
That's the problem.
And I think that the biggest thing today, I think, is people in debt. It's affecting their outlook and everything.
They're a lot more temporary and material.
Yeah. I mean, my dad. Well, I mean, the point was when I was young and we used to listen to Dick Barton's Special Agent on the radio. It was a serial. My dad built his own radio.
Yeah.
He built his own radio, right? So we had that, and we used to have an accumulator, and
That's right.
we used to listen to it. And if the accumulator was going low for power, you could hardly hear the radio sometimes. You know, you got right up against the speaker. But then I used to go down to J&M Stones, the radio shop, and I used to take 2 accumulators down.
Yeah,
And they used to charge them up.
that's right.
And then I used to go down the next day, pick them up, and we had a spare. We had a radio that only used to last about 48 hours.
Okay.
But then we had another one to put on if it did. And then my dad, we went down and we bought a brand new Ferguson radio. Oh, it's marvellous. But I mean, that was all paid for.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
My dad, I've never known my dad worry or talk about money because we never really had a lot going out.
Okay, so it was more people were more concerned with the value of things.
Yeah, it's got now.
They
I
squeeze
think,
the value from it.
as these people say,
If
it's
you
a throwaway
couldn't afford
society.
something, you never had it.
Okay.
There was no tick, was there, Dave?
Oh yeah,
You didn't have tick, did you?
yeah. The worst thing you done was get into debt. You tried to stay out of debt. You save up for something. It might take you 6 months to save up for something, but you
saved up for
you
it.
saved up for it, and then you thought, well, that's it. But you didn't have. I mean, there were people. Don't get me wrong. That used to have people banging on their door. They owed money for this and money for that. But it wasn't. I mean, if you go up to the tip now and you see all those, and I'm only going by appearances. you see all those looking washing machines and tumble dryers up the tip that have been taken up now. You know, some of them only look about 3 or 4 years old, and I mean, I know. Sometimes, you know, they are cheaper to replace rather than repair it, because some things, domestic appliances, are quite reasonable. But in the main, why spend £300 on a nice tumble dryer when you've got one you've taken up the tip, which is good, don't work, which you might be able to get it
working again, yeah.
You know, working for 50, 60 quid. That's the point.
Women didn't have washing machines, they had a bloody rubbing board, didn't they?
Yeah.
And just to quickly...
My mum had a posh one, she had a glass one, not a tin one.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
just
posh.
to draw it back to schooling, would you say there was a good quality of education?
I think I would say more enjoyable from both sides, because I can remember teachers coming back from the war. They'd been in the services and that, and they came back from the war, like, and they picked up their teaching profession again, and it was all right. I never, only once did I see a fracas in the schoolroom. One or two squabbles in the playground.
Yeah.
1 or 2 fights and a black eye for somebody when you were getting older, or. But I don't think the teachers had to put up with what they put up today.
Okay, so more
You know,
discipline.
I think the harmony between teacher and pupil was better than it is today.
Okay. And is there any other thoughts you'd like to round off with, Grandad?
No, only when my sister died in the war. My dad, your granddad,
Yeah,
Willie,
great granddad. Yeah,
was on draft. They didn't know where they were going, but they were on draft to go overseas. Obviously, he finished up going to India and Burma, but he was on draft. And my sister went into hospital to have an operation, and she died. She died on the table, actually, from a bit of a mistake, but that's neither here nor there. And my dad came home on compassionate leave for the funeral and that. And when he went back on to the draft, they sent for him, and they explained that they understood why he'd had compassionate leave to come home, because his daughter died and this, that and the other. And they offered to take him off the draft.
Okay.
So as he wouldn't have to go.
No, yeah.
Because my dad was with people, soldiers, squaddies of 20s, 30s, and my dad was 40.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So they thought my dad was too old. And my dad besotted my sister, his daughter, and he was so upset, he turned round to the authorities when they said they could get him off, he didn't have to go, and he told them that he wanted to go. And I think it was because my sister died, he thought his life was finished. And he said he wanted to go. So they kept him on draft, and he went to Burma. And
he won the what was it, the Burmese Star? That was
he won the Burma Star. Yeah, he got the Burma Star and 1 or 2 other service medals. Yeah, he got that. Yeah, he never really got over. He never really got over his daughter, my sister.
No.
It's
probably hard to let go of a
I
child.
think he thought that his world had come to an end.
Yeah.
He thought, well, if I go abroad and that and I get killed, so what?
Well, that's,
I think that was his
Well, your mum was
attitude.
a bit unlucky, wasn't she? Because
Hey?
your mum was a bit unlucky, really. She had 3 children. She lost 2 of them, didn't she?
Yeah, she lost
Lost a
Leslie.
little
and,
boy, Leslie.
died,
Which was
Yeah.
awful.
yeah,
Must be awful to lose a child.
yes. But,
You never get over
yeah.
Well, maybe never learn that then.
Oh, I
Maybe
hope
never
not.
learn that.
I hope not.
No.
We used to, I think, I don't know about other races, I don't know about other people and that, but I honestly think, from my point of view, that the communities of my era as a boy, as a child, parents, friends and that, I think was very good. There wasn't the trouble there is today.
I think perhaps that's certainly something
you
we
know,
can look
it-
at and say
it
is true.
was-
Yeah.
Well, you stuck together, didn't you, Dave?
Eh?
You
Community
stuck
ties,
together. I mean, if you had any clothes that you'd grown out of
Yeah.
and the little boy next door, they'd fit you, you'd give
Yeah.
them. Because they were all on coupons, weren't they? Clothes were on
Yeah.
coupons. You had to,
Yeah, like,
you know, nothing was wasted, was
No.
it? Put it that way, which is a good
but you
thing,
never
not
looked
like
at anybody
today.
then. You never looked at. I mean, I can remember when I was a little kid, the chap over the road had a car. He had a car.
they
Of
was
course,
rich in
cars
them days,
cars were
weren't
like gold dust. They didn't have cars. You had a bike, and you might have had a motorbike, but cars was really upmarket. And there was me and a couple of my mates was down there, and he was polishing his car. And he said, something he said, I can't remember what he said, but he said, oh, I'm finishing now, lads. He said, tell you what, he said, I've got to go up to East Acton to the petrol station. I'm going to get some petrol. He said, would you like to come for a ride? So we said, yeah. So the 3 of us got in the car, he got in the car, he took us to the service station, filled up with petrol, come back, and it was like a day out. It was wonderful, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was what were the petrol stations like? Was it still a pump? Was it
What?
the petrol station to get the petrol? What was it like?
Oh, it was, someone used to come out and serve you.
Oh wow, okay.
It wasn't self-service.
Chauffeur sort of
Yeah,
thing, you had your
yeah.
own
As soon as
service.
you pulled in, you went over like a cable, and it went bing bong, and they came out the office, and you said pounds worth of petrol or something, and they used to serve it, take your money, and there was no self-service. Self-service was only brought in, I think, because of the velocity of the amount of people going in there, plus the fact they saved money on
Staff
no
and that,
staff,
yeah.
Well, not
so-
many people had cars, did they, Dave?
Yeah, so yeah,
Only
the sheer
the
amount.
rich had cars.
Yeah,
Well.
My dad had a car.
yeah.
Well, that's it's been a fascinating insight. So thanks very much, Grandad.
What?
It's been a fascinating insight.
Well,
this.
to be honest
So
with
thanks.
you, I'm sure some people had a more exciting life than me, but looking back, I suppose it hasn't been bad.
No, it ain't be bad. Well,
It hasn't been bad.
could always be worse, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much.
There's lots of things. I mean, there's lots of things. The community spirit in the war was very good.
That was when women started. Women never went to work till the war, did they, Dave?
Not
When
frequently.
they got
no.
married, no.
Yeah, but I
But
mean,
when they went there, they don't want to
it used
stay
to be a
at home.
laugh because
My mum went to work.
it used to be a
see,
laugh
or-
because there were so many things on rations. Like when you went into the butcher's, you had points, you had ration books, and you might get
Right.
a little bit of meat for 2 people, like 2 ration books, a little bit of meat. But he would say, there's 2 sausages there. They weren't rationed. The butcher used to have, when they used to come in, he could give them 2 sausages or something, and they were paid for, but they weren't on ration.
No.
Or a piece of liver wasn't on ration, but meat was. And that.
Okay, yeah.
And then we'd be playing sort of football in the courtyard of the flats. and all of a sudden someone had come back. They'd been shopping, and they say
Oranges. Oh,
They say
bananas.
oh, the greengrocers down Bloemfontein Road.
Oranges.
They got bananas. And everybody used to see 'em running down the road with their bags. And when you got down there, you could have, depending, your ration book. They used to look at your ration books because that told you how many people were in the house. If you had 4 people in the house, you got 4 bananas.
Okay.
And the same with oranges. Someone used to shout out, "Here, they've got oranges down the road in so-and-so's." Yeah, and it used to clear.
I mean, sweets.
Go down and get some oranges.
We used to get 3/4 a month, didn't we?
Sweets.
Sweets.
Yeah.
3/4 of a pound a month.
Yeah, 3/4 of a pound.
And that was on a Sunday.
month,
We used to come home from church. Oh, and on that Sunday, we used to have the bloody lot.
Wow.
But my mum did used to get a little bit of black market, I must admit she did.
Well, not something we admit on tape now.
Come on, mate. Oh, go.
Hey,
No.
You used to
if you
get...
had a few bob, you could always buy something, couldn't you?
Yeah. I don't think... this goes back to the
We never
days
went
when...
short.
This goes back to the days when children were children. And Christmas was stocking hanging up on the
Oh, yeah,
fireplace.
definitely.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And in the morning was an orange and a bag of sweets. That was it. Like
Well, it's more about the spirit of Christmas than the materialism of
The
it.
spirit of Christmas was the spirit. It wasn't as commercial
Well,
as
yeah,
it is today.
I can remember getting a nice handbag once.
Oh, that's
My
Yeah, it wasn't
Christmas.
commercial.
Was that
like today.
after the
I
war
was
now,
about,
not before?
no, I was about 13.
Okay, so
I
that would
had
have
a
been...
handbag and I thought, I can see it now, it was blue.
Yeah, just after the war then, that would have been.
Yeah, and I thought that was absolutely wonderful. But you did appreciate what you got, didn't you,
You
Dave?
had to, yeah. Well, thank you both very much.
right.
I'll work out the conversions and the like now to figure out how much everything was. Anyway, thank you both.
Yeah.
Can you just say that again, Grandad? For the...
Oh, right. Well, we used to live near open air swimming bars, Bloemfontein Road swimming bars, Shepherd's Bush. And we noticed there was lorries coming up with police escort and ARP people there. And they used to block the street off where the swimming bars was. And that was it. It was all sort of clandestine. It was all, what's going on over there, like, So when there was a bit of a lull there and it was a bit quiet, we went over to the swimming pool, me and a couple of my little mates, and we climbed up the roof and we laid on top of the changing cubicles. And it wasn't long before there was a couple of lorries came up, or a lorry came up and that. And they started unloading sheets and sacks and all this, that and the other. And it wasn't until they took them into the swimming pool we could see the pool and took the out, and these sacks were full of body parts. Oh, they looked all covered in dust. Obviously, they were dead. And they put them in the pool, and had these big brushes that they used to clean the bottom of the pools with, for the swimmers and that. And they were agitating these bodies around there to get the dirt and the dust off. And then they put them in and took them out of the water and laid them on the side. And they tried to get bits and body parts and that to get people to make a person up, really, because some of them were whole, I think, and as far as I can remember, some were bits and pieces. And then little after, when they'd got them all out and got the dust off of all the bodies and that, some, I don't know, 15, 20 bodies, I don't know. And a couple of cars would pull up, big cars, and there'd be some people get out, about 10 or 15 people come in there, and obviously these people that came in were relatives of people that lived in the road that they'd got the bodies from, because they used to monitor where the bodies came from, what road, and they were trying to identify, put a name to the bodies. They were relatives of people that lived in the street down the road that was bombed, or trying to see if they could recognise family or friends or something, to put a name to them. I thought, oh my God. I must confess, I never slept that night very well at all. I laid awake at night, and I was only a kid. And it really sunk in, and I thought, oh my God. Couldn't sleep that night.
No, I can imagine not.
No, it was nasty. It was nasty. A bit frightening.
Yeah, it sounds
It was frightening.
Sounds awful.
Yeah.